Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2. Let me introduce to you in the top right of Ancient Cistern, the red Zerg player, the fan favorite from Canada. It is Scarlett. And she is up against one of the best Terrans in the Americas, the Brazilian Terran player from Team Liquid, Kelazhur. Kelazhur, a bit of a Gumiho style Terran, always willing to mix in a little more mech than your average Terran versus Zerg player, and I think I have it on good authority that we're going to see some of that here today. So, if you enjoy a little bit more variety, or maybe just a good old-fashioned Scarlet Zerg versus Terran, well, Jimmy, what are we at? 1,000? Okay, 1,042 likes on this video, and I mean, if we could get 1,042 subscribes, I'll just cast for 24 hours straight. Or more. But 1,042 likes. And I'll cast another series. Probably tomorrow. And I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching, tuning into this ESL StarCraft 2 Summer Regional Playoffs. A best of 5 TVZ. Starting off, as you'd expect, with Jimmy screwing up the health bars. Come on! I need to see. If I don't see the health bars, how am I gonna know that the Reaper is at like half HP when it mildly annoys the Queen? Alright? This is important information. As every TVZ pretty much starts this way, but which Scarlet are we gonna get today? Is it going to be the one who makes Zerg look like it needs a nerf? One of which she'll be blamed for? Or, well, there goes the creep tumor. Or a little bit too committed to something less than ideal against the composition the Terran's going for. I like in Scarlet, I guess Raynor is probably the best comparison. Raynor also a very headstrong player that kind of substitutes high APM sometimes for a later game unit composition. It usually works out. But, oh my. Well, if you aren't hot and bothered already, you're about to be, because this is a Blue Flame Hellion build from Kelazhur, straight out of Wings of Liberty. One of the hottest strategies. Okay, we get it. It's a very... The Hellions have Blue Flame. Oh my god, what in the heck? What in the Hellions? Okay, well, the Blue Flame is spotted, but one thing wasn't spotted. That thing is the Fusion Core! Kelazhur with a Blue Flame Battlecruiser build. I said he likes his mech. Well, he's taking us to McDonald's in Game 1 and serving us a big mech double, as the Blue Flame and the Battlecruisers, not usually the combination you see. That's quite an expensive investment, but we will, unless it's like hyper no, it's a Battlecruiser. Okay. Thankfully. I would have been a little disappointed if it was hyper sheath, but the Blue Flame Hellions. Scarlet already with some roaches on the way. There isn't a wall here. The Blue Flame Hellions just gonna roast the Zerglings, though they buy enough time in order to whittle down the count. Unfortunately, though, nothing on the ramp, nothing to block the Hellions. A handful get into the main. The drones. Well done so far. The micro... Well, Scarlet loses 6 drones. Alright, so what is that? 6 drones for 10 Hellions and a Reaper. Well, when you look at it that way, it didn't go great. That definitely could have gone better. Could have gone worse. Could have killed essentially none of them, but at the end of the day, I think Scarlet not going to be too unhappy with just a handful of drones lost, though. Every group of Hellions has potential here. Hellions try to come in again. The Evo Chamber block isn't there. Yamato Cannon on the way. 8 more drones down. The queen count is 8 queens so far. So that is the extent of the anti-air. There's not even a single spore crawler. The battlecruiser jumps directly. No, it's a disaster. An undefended mineral line. The drones will escape, but clearly an unexpected turn of events. The tactical dunk right into the mineral line. 13 drones down. More hellions coming in towards the third. Kelazhur a little late on the draw there. We're gonna find even more drones for roasting. So, the mech combo meal here. Well, Scarlet still had 63 drones. She loses 16, plummeting to a 6-drone lead. Thing is, when you go for the fusion core, the multiple factories, the blue flame, you've invested a lot of your gas in these units that there's not really a follow-up here for Kelazhur so far. A third command center on the way, but you don't really have the production to build an army that can just walk across and win the game. So Scarlet, despite taking a significant amount of damage to all of these attacks, weathers it and comes out with a still overwhelming economy. 80 drones and adding 7 more. Make that 15. We're gonna go over 90. Yamada, it's a queen. But the double armor on the way, the queen count's still more than high enough. Scarlet doesn't seem to respect the battlecruisers at all. 92 drones. Wow. Contaminate on the tech lab factory, slowing things down. Mutas! 15 mutas! A crazy tech switch here, which you wouldn't usually expect when you're going for the battlecruiser. The battlecruiser will ward away small amounts of air quite easily, but 15 mutalisks is probably more than the cruisers can handle, especially if they just had a cross. And the armory is just now finishing for Kelazhur. Has not bought the time he needed to keep Scarlet off this massive tech switch. The battlecruisers and the hellions were annoying, cute overall, but no, oh my god, does the game just end? There's no anti-air at all. The battlecruisers jump home. They're gonna have to be repaired. The tanks are already dying. Roach is ready to just slice their way in. Turret's in production, but I don't think they're gonna finish. Scarlet goes right for him. She can just target the turret. SCV's being slaughtered. Roaches will not be taken out nearly quickly enough, and Scarlet may have just swept away game 1. As Kelazhur at 100 supply, gonna repair the turret. But the SCVs are dying. There's enough mutas that the bounces are just slicing through the SCVs here. Kelazhur is running out of minerals to repair. Cyclones show up, but not micro quickly enough, loses 1. The rest will take out some of the mutas, but Scarlet runs away with game 1 relatively easily. Wow, a brutal match there for Kelazhur. I enjoyed the throwback strats of the Blue Flame Battlecruiser, but Scarlet wasn't having it. As a great man once said, if they're doing something weird, go fucking kill them. So, embracing the strategies of DJ there is Scarlet, as that was truly one of those like, wait a second, you just spent so much money on this tech. You've gone 2 completely different directions, Blue Flame and Battlecruiser, with Yamato, I might add. You got all the fixins, but what else do you have? And the answer was pretty much nothing. Scarlet, that was essentially like a macro trainer game, where sure, you take some hits, but you shrug it off and hit them on the other side. Kelazhur, I don't think we'll see the full-on Blue Flame Battlecruiser again. I do like how Scarlet preempted it, because a lot of players would get kind of distracted by the cruise, be like, okay, corruptors. Something to deal directly with what my opponent is doing. But the mutas were the right call. The economy was there, and the main weakness of mech is the lack of built-in anti-air. Essentially, since the beginning of StarCraft 2, I'm just gonna go ahead and put my game design chaps on, and go ahead and jump into this one, because I think we have a little bit of time. But in my opinion, my humble, though well-experienced and qualified opinion, but humble nonetheless, the entirety of StarCraft 2 Terran design out of the factory is making up for the fact that for some reason the Goliath was never added. Every part, every unit added with StarCraft 2, from Wings of Liberty all the way up to today in Legacy of the Void, is trying and failing to replace the Goliath. The Goliath in Brood War, which, for the handful of children, aka anyone under 25, so the minority here, the Goliath was essentially the mech marine. Well, the Viking kind of replaced in StarCraft 2. It's not really the mech marine, but a cheap, like 125 minerals, 50 gas unit out of the factory that could help deal with smaller amounts of air. In fact, it was focused more on it, though had a basic ground attack. The Viking essentially serves the same role, though definitely not as reliably, because the Viking has the anti-air long-range missiles and the ground attack, which has a very similar kind of like minigun aspect to it. But between the Widowmine, the Cyclone, the Thor with multiple modes, the Viking itself, I'm including the Viking because it qualifies, every part of StarCraft 2 has been trying to replace the role of the Goliath. But the reason we simply don't see mech, either against Zerg or Protoss especially, is the lack of that kind of mid-tier mech unit. And that pushes a lot more reliance on things like Widowmines, and just into bio. There are a lot of other reasons, like, you know, the technology to control more than 12 units at a time, which naturally means that units like Marines are a lot stronger, and Zerglings and Banelings. But I would have liked to see a time with Legacy of the Void that we tried the Goliath. I think there were some attempts there. Like the Warhound was an attempt, but immediately got removed because it was too busy being too good at everything. I think the key to the Goliath is how it did need support from things like siege tanks. I watch Brood War on occasion. It's been a while now, but it's not like Brood War has been changing too much. The last balance patch was before most top-tier pro players were born in StarCraft 2, so... But yeah, the Goliath serving that essentially the role the Marine serves in a lot of compositions. And the lack of it, and just the vibe of the Goliath is also pretty sick. That's another thing. How good are the vibes? The vibes are good with the Goliath. One of my favorite units in Brood War, as a non-Brood War player. But speaking of replacement Goliaths, the Cyclones with Mag Field Accelerator. It's a Hell Clone build here, as the Queens will be latched onto right off the bat. The floating barracks for vision, by the way. I love it. I love it. Another mech build from Kelazhur, trying to make it work here. And Scarlet doesn't really have any Zerglings to bait out some of the attacks. That's usually what's used to lessen the blow of the Cyclones. But that Mag Field Accelerator is done, which means extra damage against everything, not just armored units. 50% more damage from the lock-ons. Scarlet has 59 drones. But the Roaches, if these Cyclones are perfectly microed, the Roaches should not really be able to catch them, especially considering there's no road speed. Even on creep here, it becomes incredibly difficult. Blue Flame is on the way. Kelazhur, with that barracks, can maintain the lock-ons. The Queens are almost entirely down. The barracks is providing the vision. So the constant lock-ons here, just poking and prodding. Cyclones are not a cheap unit. What do we got on the other side? There's a single Zergling, which is going to be cleaned up. Oh, but Kelazhur drives right by the hatchery, gets a lock, and knocks out a few more Roaches. Scarlet's struggling here. Kelazhur knows he needs to get as much damage done as possible before Roach speed is completed, though it doesn't have a beat on exactly when that is. Once roach speed is done, the roaches will be able to close the distance. If there are any survivors. Which right now is becoming less and less likely. Blue flame is done. The queens, well, 4 more in production. That's one of the, down to 1 queen is Scarlet, which means the larva inject is suffering as well. Another one pops out. Scarlet really struggling here. The problem is, by the time the roaches counterattack without speed, there's already siege tanks. Unsiege, sure. They do plenty of damage. Cyclones. But Scarlet finishes roach speed and immediately kills a cyclone or 2. But overall, Kelazhur has a ton of momentum here. Has clearly overall won the battle. He's destroyed 80% of the resources destroyed in the last 2.5 minutes were by Kelazhur against Scarlet. 37 roaches, 9 queens for just 2 cyclones. Most of the real damage was the SCVs on the other side. The cost efficiency, I was too busy ranting. But I'm not exactly sure where things went wrong. Is there a Zergling speed? There is. But Scarlet chooses not to get really any Zerglings. And before the YouTube comment grandmasters chime in, the Zerglings are almost entirely just to blunt the effect of the cyclone knocks. It's not a particularly cost-effective strat. The problem is, if the cyclones are, even though the Zerglings are going to be roasted quickly by the hellions, usually you can use them to at least distract some of the cyclones, because most players, almost all players, will just auto-lock onto the closest target and consider that good enough. Scarlet, though, despite everything, still has 80 drones and counting. Kelazhur is definitely in a much better position. There's a Spire on the way yet again. Gonna try a big Muta switch. The thing is, Magfield Cyclones, they deal with Mutas. It only takes like 4 hits to kill a Mutalisk. A Mutalisk, not a Mutalisk. It takes multiple sets of 4 hits to kill a Mutalisk. A 10 Mutas on the way. Still attempting to get some of those drones, but Kelazhur are going to be shut down. 1-1 on the armories. Very key point. The armories are already done, so I can easily start Thors if needed. But here come a whole bunch of siege tanks. There's not that many clones on the field. Only 4. So Scarlet may have a chance to just... And this is that lack of Goliath here. The only anti-air are those 4 clones. So if she kills those, the Mutas can actually just wipe the field. It's painful, but there's literally no anti-air left. Leaving Scarlet, well, both players in a bit of an awkward position. The Corrosive Bow triple kill. Well, Mutas are not known for dealing damage very quickly against siege tanks. Kelazhur might be able to just target down the base. The Hellions, well, Kelazhur ends up getting a whole lot of nothing there. Finally finds a mineral line, 12 drones. Scarlet already rebuilding, 17, 19. Nice little counter there for him. Muta's on the other side. So, Scarlet exploiting the main weakness of the Hell clones is if you slack on the clones at all, the Mutas actually come in. Kelazhur, oh, what an elementary yet devastating mistake. Just a few more Cyclones, and I think he's already won the game. But instead, Scarlet is right back in it. Still has 4 or 5 hatcheries, and is nearly maxed out. Kelazhur loses a massive amount of supply. 10 siege tanks. Whoa, my. There's no real high ground. That's a... Well, that's a lot of dead Ravagers. I don't... Gets through the tanks, but again, at what cost? The Mutas swinging into the main. This is a bloody battle. God, more tanks. Scarlet is really trying to end this right here before we have to go any further up the tech tree, but I don't know, Kev. That's a lot of roaches down. The battle has continued for almost 3 minutes. 12 siege tanks down for 46 roaches, 13 Ravagers. 7 mutas, 20 drones. Make that 10 mutas. And, yeah, once the cyclone count gets about equal to the muta count, or even kind of close, yeah, those mutas are done. But the broodlords may find their time in the sun. Well, no corruptors on the way yet. Are there corruptors on the field at all? Not yet. Cyclone's much less effective against the broods, because the broodlings can help screw up the lock-ons. There's no... And is there even a starport? He doesn't even have a starport. Just, this is a pure mech. This is only factories so far. Out of Kelazhur. 10 corruptors on the way. Scarlet gonna have an opportunity potentially to swing in with double-digit broodlords. We'll see if the Greater Spire is scouted. Oh, the hellion! The hellion?
Add-on complete.
Well, the other hellions. We're in the Kelazhur camp. I want to see. A nice target fire. Puns intended. Alright.
Mineral field depleted.
There's still that hellion in the main. Are those the siege tanks? I'm waiting for Kelazhur to look at what he scouted with the hellions. Because that's kind of important. Has not yet seen it. I mean, why would you be looking too close? Doing a good job. Technically saw the Greater Spire. But has not read. There are already Thors on the way, which is just kind of part of the endgame composition. Roach is trying to sneak by still. A massive mech army working its way through. We could very well find ourselves in a near identical situation to the previous fight, which is Scarlet having air superiority and the inability to kill this army in a timely manner. Well, the broodlords are raining it down. That's enough broodlords, actually. It's going to be a pretty timely manner. Could target down the hatch. Gets it. More broodlings on the field. Several flavors. Going for more. Roach is on the other side, getting the damage done. Tank's going to be looking for the hatch as they drive by here. The broodlord's trying to chase it down, but outdone speed-wise by essentially everything that can literally move. The tanks will roll by. Kelazhur, 170 to 144 supply. Ghosts on the way. Adds the very first starport. Maybe an omission of defeat there, but Ghosts and Thors. About the most direct counters you can get to the broodlord composition. But Scarlet is filling in everything else too. +1 melee, adrenal glands, +3 ranged attack, +1 flyer. Going to match the 3-3. That's about halfway done for mech weapons and armor for Kelazhur. Didn't expect this game to go back and forth like this. It really did look like Kelazhur could break through, but Scarlet has found the thin margins at which to hold on. And, well, now round 3. That is a scary mech army. We got 12 siege tanks, 6 high-impact Thors that are about to be maxed out upgrades, and any amount of ghosts. 3 of them so far. But EMPs... Are there any spellcasters? No, it's just broods here. And the first round of broods. Trying to get off the creep after clearing some. Baneling speed not yet done, but the banelings are revealed. Smart servos. On the way for the Thors. Adrenal glands. Yeah, all the high-tech upgrades finishing. Is that a Raven? Oh my, the champion. The YouTube comment / Twitch chat champion Kelazhur. Why don't Terrans just build a Raven to help clear creep and help in the late game? Well, most Terrans don't keep it alive for long, but Raven in production alongside, well, just finished up. Now a nuclear missile. He's maxed out, so not much else left to build. The Ghost looking for an opportunity. Latch on to the broods. Get the snipes. 2 or 3 of them. The Overseers are coming in. Looking for detection. Scarlet wraps around the Banelings from the back, closing in on the Thors. The Broodlords raining down to the front. The mech army proving a tough nut to crack here, though, as the Thors survive the battle. Oh, just not quite enough. The Thor's too powerful. and end up being enough to power through. Well, it's all tied up. Kelazhur's mech and Scarlet struggling from the beginning there, really. Holding on that long is a testament to her skill, but it is a tough army to beat, especially if you're not able to get infestors, vipers out on the field. They already have ghosts, which can focus entirely on sniping. It's not an ideal scenario. But that's why we play best of 5, so gonna have another shot here. Oh my god. Well, Jimmy, please. The action. Game 3. Kelazhur. Counting off the games with barracks in the middle of the map. Dodging the overlord pathings. It's a kind of a bit of a poker game overall. Because okay, let me collect my thoughts before I just get halfway through a sentence and finish. The poker game of players will actively scout for proxies, like Scarlet is doing right now, looking around. So sometimes the most sneaky / well-hidden place you can proxy your barracks is directly in the front, like directly on the path. Well, there's now no doubt as to what's happening here. Multiple SCVs and a Marine at this timing? Well, it begins. 3 SCVs are shown, by the way. Scarlet already has a pool done. Well, that's a normal hatch first pull. The Queen's just started. Starts a roach warning, gets a second guess. The SCV scouts in. Scarlet is going to give up her natural, it looks like, in order to get roaches out and try to break out from there. She understands clearly that this is a 3 racks, which is quite a committed attack, as opposed to the 2 racks, which is kind of a designated pressure style. Ooh, 1 Marine down, but the rest slip into the bunker. The Queen is canceled at the last second. Another one begun. Scarlet, I think, trying to get Kelazhur. At least keep him down in the low ground for as long as possible. Roach Warren nearly complete. Kelazhur knows that, but the Marines are going into the main. There's nothing. That's it. That's just the Queen. It's Brenda versus the world right now. The drones have to be pulled. There's just no Zerglings. SCVs versus drones with the Marines on the back line. 6 drones down. Scarlet falls to 15. She's still got the hatch on the low ground though. Whoop, roaches pop out. Ravagers building. They have the extra armor of the cocoons there. There may be a dream of breaking out of this, though, because Kelazhur didn't just stay on the low ground. He went up to try to get the outright kill. And Scarlet still kicking. Well, the bunker itself, the Marines do have to put some DPS into... Scarlet may just kill her own hatch at some point. Tries the salvage, doesn't find it. Ravagers chasing. Broodlings will cover for now. The Ravagers will chase the Marines down. You gotta be very careful. The micro almost loses a Ravager, but Scarlet keeping them all alive. Losing the hatchery hurts. But the Ravagers now can chase the Marines back and forth. They are faster. They have about the same range, but... Oh my... Well, this is weird. 1 transfuse, but gets 2 Ravagers here. A drone being built. That'll probably build another hatchery. The barracks are on their way home. Bunker on the high ground. So, once again, this is going to get kind of crazy. As losing 2 Ravagers was probably at least 1 too many. Scarlet can't really... unless Kelazhur hadn't... Like, with no bunker at all, then Kelazhur might be in trouble. If he was just trying to hold with a few Marines on the high ground. But there is a bunker, which means Scarlet... Well... Gonna try to break down the depots here. Overlord making its way in. Been hanging out, as they do. Yeah, now with high ground vision, may have an opportunity to break through the depot wall. The Marine count is already high enough to be dangerous. Will this supply block? It will. At least until the command center finishes. Scarlet gonna have to content herself with the damage dealt here. Okay, so where does this leave us? One of the... Once again, after the initial exchange, they'll both go back to their corners and kind of assess the situation. And this is one of the most wide-open situations in StarCraft 2, where one player has done a committed cheese and a lot of damage, and is now left with kind of a weird production and economy. The other was able to keep them contained. Well, Scarlett was able to keep Kelazhur contained, but she did have to get Ravagers out, and she lost her hatch. So it's much harder to gauge. This is where years upon years of experience comes in, and, of course, calculated gambling, as it's very hard to know how committed either player is going to be. Like, Scarlet could just be lining up for a big Baneling bust right now. Kelazhur doesn't know for sure. At the same time, though, Scarlet doesn't know if Kelazhur, like, maybe goes Battlecruiser, or has 3 command centers already done, not just building right now. It is pretty typical of Terrans to just try to set us back on track for a normal game, and it looks like Scarlet is, with some minor delay here, minor delay, a small disturbance, slightly delayed the layer tech, but we're back on track. We may just end up evening out into a relatively standard bio versus layer Zerg game. That's at least where it looks to be at the moment. Spores are on the way, because, as I mentioned, can't be 100% sure of what either player is doing. It is going to be a 3 racks with some medevacs out of Kelazhur, which makes sense, as the 3 racks were already kind of came with the place. First bio game. I've been loving the mech, but good to see some variety. Double medevac. How many Ravagers is that? It's just the 3 for now, but more roaches on the way. Scarlet at 50 drones, but has a 3rd hatch done. Probably the most relevant part of all this. So that 3rd hatch and the amount of creep spread really starting to expand. Kelazhur needs to get in control of the situation or risk losing the entire map to Scarlet, who will willingly and actively grab it. Now, these Marines can't come out quick enough with the medevacs. Is there Baneling speed on the way? There's not even a Baneling nest, something to note. Medevacs heading north. I'm not sure they've been spotted until this moment. I actually managed to avoid all the scouting lanes. There's not really any overlords out there, but the roach count is just too damn high. The Marines will pick up into the medevacs, try to dodge out. Scarlet sees it's just Marines and medevacs, is not impressed. 12 more drones. Armory on the way. It seems we have devolved or evolved. You take your question. You pick. Wow, why can't I say this sentence? It's your definition. What the heck? You ever had that, like, you know exactly what you want to say, but for some reason you can't say it at all? That's me, like, half the time. I'm just winging it, but it's up to you to decide, I guess. I don't even remember what the original point is. I'm just upset at myself for not being able to make it. And now this is just a downhill spiral. So, anyways, production tab. Infestation pit on the way. Baneling nest. Marines stimming in towards the 3rd. Not enough to take it out. Corrosive bile will lure them away, but another double drop over to the right flank. The 4th base, yet again, gunned down, and some of the drones alongside. Kelazhur doing a great job with the double-double here on the medevac drops. Going to finish up combat shield, as well as start +2 attack. 12 more drones for Scarlet. The one she had before cut down expands to the center, but Kelazhur is building up a very solid army here. How many siege tanks? We're looking at 5 so far, with another factory on the way. Marauders being added into the unit composition. Marines stimming in towards that center base, trying to target it down. No corrosive bile means another base canceled. Scarlet cannot get a 4th. Kelazhur containing the Zerg quite well so far. The Queens on their own. It's one can go for the hatch yet again. Another one. Oh my god. This is getting canceled more than StarCraft Ghost. How many times? 18 more drones on the way is Scarlet's reaction, despite the fact she still doesn't have the hatcheries with which to mine. Confident she'll get there eventually. 187 supply against 164 for Kelazhur. It's going to come down to timing, as it so often does. Kelazhur is going to have 2-2, nearly maxed out with a 4th base on the way. That's the bread and buttered biscuit of Terran. There's going to be a window, especially now that Kelazhur scanned the main, sees Bane speed on the way, sees another hatchery, knowing this is the moment. Right now is the best it's going to get for quite a while. Even with 2-2 not done, there's going to be Vipers, there's going to be Adrenal Glands, there may very well be Ultras or Lurkers, potentially. But at the very least, right now, Kelazhur knows that near 200 supply with this army against the mid-game Zerg is his best opportunity to get the damage done. So seizing that opportunity well so far. Sieging up the tanks on the ramp. Maybe a little far forward there. 2 of them knocked out by corrosive bile. The rest of the Marines and Marauders stim up the ramp. That hatchery likely going to go down, but the Banelings with speed on the creep. Another hatch. Oh, taken out. +2 weapons done, +2 armor not far behind. Vipers join the field. Small drop continues to drag some of the army back for Scarlet, but finally knocked down by the Queens. Vipers looking for an opportunity. Blinding Cloud and Parasitic Bomb looking great here. Abduct always an option against the siege tanks. Yanks a couple out. Easy kill so far. Corrosive bile sprays across the board, but the DPS of the Terran army. Kelazhur embracing the Roaches and Ravagers with the Marines and Marauders and just tearing through them all. So far, so good. Kelazhur easily turns the tables and comes out with a decisive victory. Just stimming through the violence, the instant aggression there. God, obviously, Scarlet not quite ready for that level of offense as she moved across the map. Though the Marauder count is pretty much the only count left over here. Most of the Marines have already died. Kelazhur getting a bit strung out on the attack, forced to retreat into the medevacs, and yet again, these two so evenly matched. A back and forth. Oh. It's all started with the 3 racks, but how far we've come. Whoop! Corrosive bile, dodged out. Finally, oh, Hydra is done on the way for Scarlet, angling towards Lurkers, or maybe even just Hydras against this army. +3 on the way for Kelazhur, halfway done, and nearing halfway. We got +3 Carapace and +2 melee attack on a very... Oh my god, she almost consumed the evolution chamber to death. I have to assume that's what happened. Kelazhur maxed out again. More consumes on hatcheries. I do feel just add a couple more Evo chambers out there. Some battery packs for the Vipers. Blinding Cloud. No Parasitic Bomb yet. Medevac's actually just running out of energy of their own accord. Blinding Cloud seems to have made the difference on the high ground. No siege tanks, no Widow Mines, no force multipliers. These things are even more difficult as Kelazhur is routed now. Parasitic Bomb forces it back. Scarlet holds on. There's a weird looking crypt tumor there. What is going on with that? It's a super tumor. That's... Ooh. Widow Mine finds some Banelings though. Scarlet eats a hit. 20 Banes down before they can connect. But still holding on economically. What a great match. This whole series has been great. Even game 1 where Scarlet just kind of clocked Kelazhur for his silly battle cruisers, but... (3-3) about to finish. But Scarlet... Oh. Alright. Alright, everybody stop right there and start. We don't pause for anyone here. Like and subscribe for doing it live from replay. Another base. They're both relentlessly expanding. Scarlet was not stopped by the cancels, only delayed. Others are heading to the main with 4 Marauders and a medevac. Oh, we see. Parasitic Bomb. That should knock it out. The Zerglings will take out the rest. Banelings trickling in. Marauders are quite tanky. So many creep tumors. Kelazhur are working up the center again. Scarlet has units all over the place right now. The Queen's getting caught. I feel like there's more Marauders than Marines. Almost. Banelings rolling in. Viper wandering up. Blinding Cloud disables over half the tanks of the entire ramp. And a great counterattack for Scarlet. Eviscerates the mineral line. Despite the Blinding Cloud, though, Kelazhur will win the fight in the center, at least to start. Killed several. Oh, well. It doesn't really matter now. The Vipers went down, but they get... the job was already done. The huge counter. The Zerglings slip in. 19 SCVs down, but Kelazhur still has 67. An okay economy. Widowmine dealt with for now. Spore Crawler moving up for detection. Wait, how much HP does that hatchery have? Not very much. The medevac count. 9 medevacs, barely enough to... not nearly enough units to fit inside of them. As on the ground just wiped out. The Blinding Cloud was clearly the choice there. And did beautifully well. Trying to drag some units out of position. Already Ghosts in production. It's taken this long to get there. +2 mech weapons on the way. The Ghost being added on. Scarlet still with 93 drones. Kelazhur with 69 SCVs. Nice enough, adding some more. Scarlet mining from a whole bunch of bases now, whereas Kelazhur limited to, well, he just got the gold, so should have a decent economy, starting to bring the income back to parity. Oh, Scarlet has had the lead for quite a bit. Scarlet grabbing the rest of her side of the map. Accidentally EMP, I think, there. Was trying to burrow the mine. Pressing the E key. But instead had the Ghost selected. It happens. Alright. Couple medevacs just kind of abandoned over to the right. But the Vipers chasing on the left. Kelazhur is paying attention. Oh, the Widow Mines on broadside. Knocks out a whole bunch. But Parasitic Bomb and Blinding Cloud, the Vipers spewing all over the field to try to break through the lines. A couple of Hydras in the back. And meanwhile, Ravagers, Lings, and Banes breaking through the planetary. And Scarlet breaks down the most key mining location while doing some damage over towards the third. Scarlet just knocked Kelazhur off the right side of the map, but Kelazhur now going to do the same on the opposite. The Vipers need their energy back. That's a lot of Ghosts mixed in with the army. Good fighting units alongside everything else. Not bad at all against Hydraling Bane. Gets a full energy Viper. Oh, those Widow Mines still troublesome here. Trying to drag him out. Will successfully do so. Not an incredible hit. The hatchery's already down, but the Hydras are working their way through. +2 ranged attack is done. Kelazhur trying to retreat with the Ghosts. The only survivors here. Scarlet overwhelms the army and crushes it. Somehow the Ghosts escape. Almost 20 minutes in, still not very close to a conclusion, as the map starts to mine out a bit. Still a lot of bases left to work with. Widow Mines blunting the attack. The medevac count has been mostly reset, down to 3. Oh, the ghost caught in front. Get some snipes off, but maybe get caught themselves. Widowmine slams into an overseer over the Terran army. Blinding Cloud. Kelazhur almost back on his production. Blue Flame now on the way for those Hell Chads. No +3 mech weapons, but that makes the Hellbounds quite a mineral efficient option against late game Zerg. With +3 mech weapons, it's able to kill Zerglings in a single flame. Alright, things slow down a bit. Kelazhur still 185. +3 mech on the way. Blue Flame about to complete. Marines stimming in. Cutting down the drones. Oh, this will drag a lot of the Zerglings out of position. Scarlet down to 76 drones. Gonna shore that up a bit. Liberators on the way. Strong late game choice. The double siege options makes it a lot harder for the Zerg army to dismantle it. The Vipers have a lot of jobs to do, while also avoiding getting EMP'd. Oh, Scarlet gonna work around. Those rocks could be taken down to the north side of the third. Most of the army in the top right. That means Scarlet likely gonna press the issue in the bottom left. There's only so much supply you can have, and most of it is committed otherwise. So the Zerglings easily overrun the cursory defenses while Kelazhur going for something of a base trade. The depots will hold for now. Another depot wall reminiscent of the earlier parts of the game. Scarlet just running over the field. Kelazhur, a blinding cloud on the planetary, denies most of the options, though melee attack is fine for the Zerglings. Kelazhur advanced. Scarlet kind of wrapping around to chase down the army, just running over everything in her path. The Vipers get EMP'd. Won't be able to participate in the fight, but might not need to, as the Banelings roll in, and the Marines evaporate alongside Kelazhur's supply. Scarlet takes the game. Quite a decisive final engagement. After a back and forth, Scarlet just runs through the field, just crushing the bases on her path. Wow. It was so close, right up until it wasn't. Kelazhur's 3 Rex proxy. Oh my. Well, that's 2-1 for the Canadian Zerg, but Kelazhur definitely not a pushover. Definitely a shove over at best. And that brings us to the potential match point. Or just match point. I think it's always just called match point. I think we had this discussion days ago. Either way. Match point. Scarlet. 2-1. Reaper. Not as creative as the last game. I did enjoy that 3 Rex. Good old-fashioned, full-on cheese. But Scarlet, very calm defense. Was fully willing to give up her hatchery. She had a vision for how to defend it, and went through with it. I think that's the hardest part for a lot of players. In StarCraft and otherwise, is like, just not having that depth of experience. Like, you get cheesed 5 times in your first 100 games, and you're only by the 5th time, maybe you panic slightly less. But Scarlet immediately going for the Roach Warren and the Ravagers made all the difference in being able to break out in a timely manner. I'm sorry. I'm missing out on the commentary. The Reaper dances back, throws a grenade, gets the Zergling. Queen pops out. Reaper takes a look, looking for the creep tumor. Queen, not placing one yet, places the creep tumor. Reaper heads back. Still staying nearby, waiting for an opportunity. Queen has a bit of joint pain, but makes her way out. Vengeance fuels her, despite adversity. Like me as well. I can empathize. All right, there's your commentary for the Reaper flirting with the Zerglings in the early game. This isn't Clem. Okay. Kelazhur, still very competent, but only Clem is allowed to really get the damage done. 2 Zerglings just walk up and murder an SCV. Will they get more than 1? Oh my god, 2. Well, that's unfortunate. 2 of the Zerglings just slipped through. Well, that's not supposed to. That wasn't in the script. That's certainly not ideal. Not devastating, but definitely not what you want to have in the early game as Terran, clearly. A few more Zerglings slipping in. Well, another one to the high ground. Trying. So far, the usual. It's going to be Cloak Banshee Hellion. The bread and butter. This is a comfort build for Terrans, by the way. The same strat that they've been using for 13 years to various extents. 3cc Banshee Hellion. It is, if you don't know exactly what, well, maybe you have a vision for it. It could easily transition to mech, and ooh, 2 more gases before 5 minutes. You have my attention. And you also have Zerglings in your base, so maybe you should have oh. So, Scarlett's gonna see this. There's already a Rotorn on the way. Well, this is not gonna kill very many SCVs. She saw the 2 gases. Which, if there is to be a mech play, is a bit of a giveaway. 5 drones to the Banshee. So not nothing. Overlord speed is on the way, as Scarlet is not sure if this is the Battlecruiser flavor, or if it's just going to be your basic mech. But it seems very likely it will be some sort of mech. Yeah, 2 more factories on the way. Otherwise, there's no reason to get those gases. It's a costly endeavor. 2 Dropper Lords on the way. Scarlet looking to drop the point home. An exclamation point on this series here. I think this is going to be for Queens. She's evolving on, well, Cyril's been doing... by Cyril's been doing this, I mean Cyril has occasionally done the Dropper Lords. It's going to be Hyper Shees as well. But... okay, where are the drop... yep. We ride! We fly yet again! It reminds me of the olden days. Oh my god. Oh, she's going all the way. All the way to the natural. Where are the roaches? The queen's get here for... oh my god. Dropping creep for transfuse. Are there any siege tanks? Oh my god. Is it... It's working. There's an Overseer here. He already has Overlord speed, obviously. There's only 1 gap in the depots, but the Zergling drop as well. The Banshee's trying to get the damage done. They will on one of the queens. If somehow the queens die, the SCVs are pulled. Target fire required on the Banshees. Good mic, but 27 SCVs so far. Even if the queens die, which I think is exceedingly unlikely. Oh god, they all just go down! The tanks are finally out! But there's no home to save. Scarlet with a decisive victory. Oh, what a close series. Well, bookended by Scarlet slapping Kelazhur across the face with these timings. Wow, I love it. First Cyril versus Clem, and then this. Scarlet not respecting your silly mech builds. kind of showing why they are a rarity in the matchup. Though Kelazhur with a particularly greedy flavor of mech. Either way, I loved it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this particularly dynamic Terran versus Zerg series. Make sure, what are we at? 1,042 likes. Cast another one. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Hope I made your day a little bit better. Stay chill.
Hell, it's about